How y'all doing? This is Barbarian Kung Fu, and I am giving you my Sam's Tangled Web Road to 300 contest entry video. That was a mouthful. He asked for us to talk about the cartoons we watched as a kid and the comics we read as a kid. Well, for me, it was one and the same. The comics that I was reading, I was interested in because of the cartoons I was watching. And as you can tell from this book right here, G.I. Joe was one of my biggest. I was all about some G.I. Joe, and I had the toys and everything. And I also was into the Transformers. So G.I. Joe and the Transformers were my two, they were my go-tos. As far as cartoons went, comics, G.I. Joe was the first one. This is actually the first comic book that I ever owned. G.I. Joe #1. I did a video where I explained how I got this, where I actually traded my Transformers, my toys, for this. So I didn't have a lot of Transformer toys, but I had lots of G.I. Joe toys. And I was lucky enough to run into Larry Hama, isn't that his name? Yeah, in 2016 he was at Dragon Con, and I went there and I had him sign this, and very happy. Like this, he could have cared less, but I was telling him how this was my first comic, how I got it and everything, and he was just like, "Oh, that's nice. Here you go. See you later." Anyway, that doesn't have anything to do with this, but so there was a TV show after school every day. The local TV channel had like this clown that they hired, and his name was Happy the Hobo. And Happy's Place was the show. They played all the cartoons after school, and as soon as I got home from school, I'd put it on, and every day it was like perfect timing that G.I. Joe would be coming on, and G.I. Joe played first, and they weren't full episodes, so they could stretch them out farther. They would play like 15 minutes of an episode, and then you'd have to wait until the next day, because if you remember, those episodes would have cliffhangers in the center of them sometimes too, and that's like where they broke them up. But after G.I. Joe came on, so much glare. I don't want it to glare on my comic book that I love so much. Anyway, after G.I. Joe came on, Transformers would come on, and so I would sit and watch G.I. Joe, and then I'd sit and watch Transformers, and then I'd go outside and play all day, because I lived in a small town, and you could stay outside until the streetlights come on, and you could run all over town. So I was like a dog off the leash. I was going everywhere. But that's it. Like, those are the comics. Those are the cartoons that I grew up with. And still to this day, I collect G.I. Joes. I have the majority of the Transformers stuff. I was only able to keep this one comic book from all of my original comics. And so I've hung on to it. It's literally held together. It doesn't look that bad, but it's literally held together by tape and love. More love than tape, thank God. But there's some on there. You just can't tell. Anyway, that's my video. Sam, you're a great guy. I think you are a great asset to the comic book community that we have growing here on the YouTubes and on Instagram. And hopefully one day this East Coast dude will wind up on the West Coast again, and I'll come and see you and say hey. And we can go hit up some of Bueller's Benz and take all those good comics from him. Anyway, see you later. Peace, somebody! Yeah!